What's up YouTube? It's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel. Now before we get started with this week's episode of WWE's Biggest Issue, the road to 200 subs has now come to a close and we are now 206 subs away from hitting 500 subs. And if you guys are new to the channel, and I know I can't speak. And I know that a lot of you guys are, because practically 100% of you guys are watching the content, but you guys are not even subscribed. So if you guys are watching the content, you like the content, and you want more of the content, but you guys have not subscribed as of yet, then make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, smash that thumbs up button on this video, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All of my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And I want you guys to post in the comments below answering the question of the day, which basically ties with this week's episode. But the question of the day is this: who would you guys like to see step up to Stephanie Vaquer and her newly won NXT Women's title? Let me know down in the comments below. And that's exactly what we are going to be talking about for this week's episode, is exactly who will step up to the Dark Angel with her reign as double champion. Now this is actually this is a first time ever for the NXT Women's division. All three brands, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, they all have a world title, a women's title, a men's mid-card title, a women's mid-card title, and also tag team titles with the WWE Women's Tag Team titles being defended across all three brands, including TNA making it the fourth brand to want to go after the women's tag team titles. Interesting thing about this is that this will be, let's see 13, 14, I believe this will be 14 championships that WWE has right now. Trying to think. I'm trying to think. Let's see. On the Raw side of things, you've got the World Heavyweight title, you've got the men's and the women's Intercontinental titles, you've got the World Tag Team titles, so that's 4 right there. On the SmackDown side of things, you've got the WWE title, you've got the men's and the women's United States titles, you've got the WWE Tag Team titles as well, so that's another 4, that's 8. On NXT, you've got the NXT title, the NXT Women's title, the NXT Men's and Women's North American titles. You've got the Heritage Cup plus the NXT Heritage Cup, and the tag title. So let's see, 4, 8. NXT title, that's 9. Women's title is 10. Both the men's and the women's North American titles is 12. The Heritage Cup is 13, and the tag titles makes it 14. That's 15 championships WWE has right now, which is amazing, absolutely amazing. I know that some people might think that it's too many championships, but to be fair, WWE has excelled better than any of us had ever hoped. And Stephanie Vaquer at Roadblock a few weeks ago made history, becoming the only woman ever in NXT to hold both of the NXT women's titles. I'm talking about the NXT Women's World title and the NXT Women's North American title. Now, we do know that tomorrow night on NXT, Stephanie Vaquer will be pulling double duty, as she'll be defending the NXT Women's North American title against Fallon Henley, and then of course the NXT Women's title against Jada Parker. But let's think hypothetical. Let's say she is able to retain both of her titles. What's next for her? Who will step up to the Dark Angel and challenge her for one or perhaps even both of her titles? That's where that's where this week's episode comes into play. That's where this week's episode will come into play. So when you look at the roster of on NXT, okay, so apparently I'm not able to go on to TNAWrestling.com. I want to check this out. Let's see, TNA roster. Okay, so apparently I'm not allowed to. Okay, okay, oh, well, this might work. Alright, this might just work out. Okay, never mind. Okay, so when you look at the current roster, for NXT, you've got a plethora of talent. You've got women like Adriana Rizzo. You've got Ariana Grace. You've got Brindley Reese, who we've seen on WWE Evolve as of late. Carly Bright, another woman we've seen on WWE Evolve. Cora Jade, Danny Palmer is another woman that's been on WWE Evolve recently. There's Gigi Dolan. There's Julia. There's also Izzy Dame. There's JC Jane, Jakara Jackson, Jasmine Nex, Carmen Petrovich, Kalani Jordan, Kendall Gray is another woman that we've seen on WWE Evolve, who apparently has started to develop a dark side to herself, which, honestly, I'm kind of digging it. I'm kind of digging it a little bit. There's also Lash Legend, Lola Vice. I would say Meiko Satomura because she technically is signed to NXT. However, we hadn't seen her on WWE TV. I think since Roadblock. Funny, how ironic. Since Roadblock a couple years ago, where she lost to Roxanne Perez in a hellacious match for the NXT Women's title. Interestingly enough, that's actually where Roxanne's dark side started to come out a little bit, where she collapsed and had to relinquish the NXT Women's title in hopes of trying to regain the title at Stand and Deliver later on that year. Interestingly enough, who else is there? Nikita Lyons. There's also Roxanne Perez, who apparently is slated to join the main roster actually sometime in the next couple weeks. So we will be expecting her to make an appearance at WrestleMania, or perhaps join the main roster on the Raw after WrestleMania, which will be very interesting. There's Shotzi, Sol Ruka, Stevie Turner, who has become more of a GM assistant rather than a competitor, but still couldn't hurt to dream. There's Tatum Paxley, Thea Hale, Wendy Chu, who is another woman that we've seen on WWE Evolve recently. Ren Sinclair. There's also Zarya. You've got a lot of talent. in NXT. But then you've got TNA. Let's not forget, TNA and NXT have joined at the hip for the last year and a half now, and the the partnership has just been incredible. So the talent that's in TNA, we've got women such as Alicia Edwards, Ash by Elegance, Danny Luna, Havoc, Heather by Elegance, Jody Threat, Killer Kelly, Lei Ying Lee, or Xia Li, if you guys remember her, Masha Slamovich, Rosemary, Savannah Evans, Steph Delander, or Persia Parada, if you guys remember her from her time in NXT. Tasha Steeles, Tessa Blanchard, and then of course as well Xia Brookside, who interestingly enough, Xia Brookside was with WWE for quite a while under the NXT UK banner, but because that NXT UK went out of business, unfortunately, she just ended up getting released, and it's a bit of a shame. I mean, she had a lot of talent, she had a lot of potential, but her talents were just wasted. So I guess, so in a way it makes sense that so I guess in my opinion, in a way, I guess it kind of makes sense that that Xia Brookside would end up on would end up in TNA, but I feel like excuse me. I feel like if Xia Brookside were to show up back to WWE, the reception that she would get would just be deafening as fuck, because she was a fan favorite before she ended up turning heel. Right around the time of the pandemic, I want to say, around the time that they allowed a small amount of fans to show up at the BT Sport studio in East London, which was where they hosted pretty much the rest of their episodes of NXT UK. And if you guys do not remember, right when the pandemic started, they finished up airing all the episodes of NXT UK that were around. And then once COVID hit, for a little over like I think it was like at least 8 to 9. I think it was like what, maybe 8, 9, almost 10 weeks. I want to say, WWE's actually brought back at NXT UK. They brought back the talent, and actually just continued to do what they did best, which is awesome. So yeah, so again, Xia Brookside ended up getting released in 2022, like right around there actually, and again, she had a lot of potential, but it was just wasted. And I feel like if she was a part of the NXT roster, oh my gosh, she could have done a lot of damage. The damage that she could have done in NXT would have been incredible. But with that being said, we gotta go back to the Dark Angel. We have to talk about her again. There's a lot of talent across both NXT and TNA that could challenge the Dark Angel for the NXT Women's Title. One of which is obviously Julia. Like hands down, if I had to pick two from both sides across as far as the NXT Women's Title goes, hands down it would have to be Cora Jade, Julia from NXT, and then from TNA I would have to say Xia Brookside and Rosemary. Xia Brookside again as I stated, Xia Brookside was one of the youngest talent that WWE has ever seen at only like what 18, 19 years old, which which is crazy. But when you think about it, she had multiple opportunities at the NXT UK Women's Title. Back when she was a part of WWE. But again, she wasn't being used properly as a talent, and I feel like this would be a good way for her to reintroduce herself to the entire NXT universe, and potentially become become a thread to the entire NXT Women's division, and become a thread to the NXT Women's title currently being held by Stephanie Vaquer. And then of course Rosemary, we saw her compete on NXT a few times last year in 2024. I think she could really give Stephanie Vaquer a run for her money. As could Cora Jade. As crazy as it sounds, Roxanne Perez is right. She's long overdue. Excuse me. She's 100% long overdue for a singles title, and I think for her the NXT Women's title is definitely one that she could definitely go after. But when you think about it, let's not forget, Julia is owed a rematch for the NXT Women's title, and if you guys saw her facial expression after Roadblock, she was proud. She was proud that she was able to lose the title to someone who to someone who she believes can elevate the title to heights that she wanted to take, that she wanted to go to with the NXT Women's title. Now, if you look, if you had to pick, right, between one, from one, if you have to pick one from both sides, hands down, I would have to say Xia Brookside and Julia. Again, Xia Brookside, again, she could turn a lot of heads in WWE, and we could potentially see her get signed to NXT, and potentially see her on the main roster, which is very possible. But it all depends on Xia Brookside's contract. Will her contract expire this year, or does she still have time on her time in TNA before she ends up with WWE? And then again with Julia, she's can't speak. She's definitely owed a rematch. 100% she's owed a rematch, and I think honestly that would have the makings of an incredible stand and deliver main event, 100%. But if I have to pick between those two, right? Between Brookside and Julia, I think it would have to be Julia. I think the rematch is definitely going to be anticipated. It's definitely going to be well worth the wait, because right now Julia's injured. She had been dealing with an injury for a minute now, and I know that when she comes back, which should be no more than within like maybe a couple weeks or so, she's definitely going to be going after Stephanie Vaquer and the NXT Women's title. So she's definitely owed a rematch, 100% owed a rematch. Now, as far as the NXT Women's North American title goes, you've got a lot of talent on the NXT side of things. I would have to say, again, going back with Cora Jade, I would have to say Cora Jade, and if I had to pick someone else, just randomly, I would have to say Shotzi. I think, yeah, Cora Jade and Shotzi. I think because here's the thing, right? Both women are former NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. Let's not forget that Shotzi was called up to the main roster prematurely. She got called up to NXT in 2021, right after WrestleMania 37, which made no sense whatsoever. 100% like it made no sense whatsoever, and fans believe that she should have stayed in NXT, and I agree. I feel like her time in NXT was cut short, and this is a good way for a good way for a good way to. This is basically Shotzi's restart button, and it's been incredible because she's teamed up with two women who have wanted to make a difference in NXT in the form of Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolan. So I feel like Shotzi, again, she could definitely become a great singles champion, as could Cora Jade. Now, as far as TNA, I think honestly it would have to be Tasha Steelz and Tessa Blanchard. I think because of how dangerous both women are, how dangerous they can be in the ring. That could really turn a lot of heads and become a threat to Stephanie Vaquer's reign as the women's North American champion. But if I had to pick one from both, I would have to say Tessa Blanchard and Cora Jade. And if I had to pick one from both of them, I think it's got to be Cora Jade. If there's anybody that could want to take the North American title off of the Dark Angel, it would definitely have to be Cora Jade. Is it going to happen? We will have to wait and see, because we do know tomorrow night Stephanie Vaquer will be pulling double duty, as she will be defending her NXT Women's North American title against Fallon Henley, I think, to kick off the show, and then the main event will be her defending the NXT Women's title against Jada Parker, which that was going to be very, very interesting, to say the very least. Because knowing Fallon Henley, she's gonna get Fatal Influence involved. Fallon Henley is definitely going to injure Stephanie Vaquer, so that way she'll lose both of her titles to not only to Fallon but also to Jada Parker, which knowing Fallon Henley, that'll probably be the end game for her. But we will have to wait and see tomorrow night. But with that being said, that will do it for this week's episode of WWE's Biggest Issue. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more episodes of WWE's Biggest Issue in the future, then make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All of my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.